Okay, traders, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to VTP Stage 2 Online, Technical Tuesday Coaching Call 191 for the 5th of May 2026. I hope you're well. I hope you enjoyed the bank holiday weekend. Okay, hope you're ready for an interesting week ahead. As always, you are very welcome here. Just remember, you're always responsible for your own trading decisions. And as always, let's finish with sterling. Okay, so what have we got here? Pound, dollar, euro sterling, pound Aussie, pound Canadian, FTSE, pound Kiwi, pound Swiss, pound yen. All right. So yeah, we've just looked at pound yen. It's come back. It's hanging on the 50 there, isn't it? Will it pop back up here again and drop down? That's what I'm looking for, or will it just will the market try and test it even further? To be honest, your guess is as good as mine at the moment. Okay, it's just worth watching. Just make sure you're on top of it. Pound against dollar, as we said, let's go out to the weekly chart. This year has swung quite significantly, hasn't it? All right. Well, in fact, you might say for the last 6 months, there's really been some quite significant swings there in pound against dollar. At the moment, as I said, we've had sterling strength, but that has more been about dollar weakness rather than any particular sterling strength, I would suggest. Go down to the daily chart, okay. What we had was end of last week, push up there, really nice. Flood the highs of the previous month and then roll off it there, okay. I would view this here. This is a bit of a broadening formation, and I wonder then is it gonna coil up right in front of, as I said, UK elections and non-farm payrolls. That's what I'll be watching to see whether we can see that, okay, and whether we're getting diamonds, building diamonds here, okay, in which case, then it becomes the compression, the kind of calm before the storm. So let's watch that, okay. It's going to be an interesting week for both UK and US in that sense. Certainly 4-hour chart, start of the week, we're pivoting around that 50, the 4-hour 50 there at the moment, aren't we? That's the way I would look at that. It's kind of quiet days. Wednesday, Thursday are very quiet, relatively quiet days. Okay, and then I think we're working towards Friday, and that's what everyone's going to be looking at. Just both for the dollar, but also for sterling. Pound against Swiss. Well, this is the daily chart. I think I talked about this last week. Is that really, for most of this last month, we were in kind of a bit of a range there, weren't we, on the daily chart? Interestingly, the 50 has flipped and has become kind of support here and it's starting to roll up. The 200, we did try and break out of it, but then came right back into it, isn't it? So if you look at that price is there between the 200, between the 50 at the 20, to me, that is price just coiling up, right? That's volatility sort of collapsing and price just coiling up before we get the next catalyst. And as I said, those elections, and certainly for the UK, might be the thing that is the catalyst based on how they impact the gilt markets, and that has its knock-on effect to sterling. Pound against Aussie, that's pound against Aussie there. So you've got. We had basically. This is when I was talking about. I thought maybe the Aussie trend was finishing, but then as you can see, really for the last almost like 6 weeks now, it's kind of worked its way down, and that has just been sterling weakness, Aussie strength. That's what we're working with there. Okay, that's a reflection of that Aussie strength. Pound against New Zealand dollar. When you look at that for the last, look at that for almost the last 6 weeks. Whereas pound against Aussie, we had quite a significant trend. Pound Kiwi has not worked out. Once again, as I think I've said, maybe this is a cup and handle that is working its way out. Cup and handle is not something I trade myself. I know a couple of people who love them. I'm not one of them, right? But when you see it, make note of it. But my kind of more natural view is that pound against New Zealand dollar really. So most of that 6 weeks, that has just been not terribly easy to trade if you want to be a swing or a position trader. Great if you're a mean reversion trader. But the way I look at it there is, once again, you've got price and the 20 and the 200 and the 50 all coming together. It is, when that happens, it is the calm before the storm. It's price coiling up before it makes its move out. Okay, so keep an eye on that. Pound Canadian dollar. I mean, there's nothing terribly exciting as that. If you look at that on the daily chart, I look at that from pretty much the last 2 weeks. We have been sat on that 50, right, in between the 50 and the 200, just going sideways. Right? That's just, maybe, as I said, that's a reflection of kind of the overall A, view of the UK. Everybody's waiting for those election results. B, Canadian dollar is going to be driven by demand for oil and gold, and that is really effectively coming out of the ceasefire in Iran, whether it holds, whether it builds into something like a permanent peace deal or regime change, or whether it all just collapses and they go back to being fully kinetic. Your guess is as good as mine, ladies and gentlemen, on that. Really, okay, it's changing hour by hour, isn't it? That's welcome to warfare. That's the way. That's the way it blows. You're against sterling, right? To finish off, yeah. You know, is that a descending triangle building? No, is that a descending triangle building? Perhaps. But once again, you've got price there, moving averages just above it, squeeze between it on the weekly chart. If I go down to the daily, we kind of had that channel which accelerated back down to these levels, all right, back down to just about 86.20. Okay, 86.20 is where I'd be sort of saying that's where we're looking at. Can it break that? What would it take to break that? Well, part of that would take it to break is that we get some sterling strength and euro weakness. This week you could get that, but you could actually also get quite the opposite. So there's not, I don't, I'm not at this moment. I am not really wedded to any really strong positions or mindsets. Okay, I think there's a little bit of a case of you really are going to have to be agile, nimble, adaptable, trade what you see in front of you, and be prepared to be wrong, and be prepared to change your view. Okay, based upon what goes on. And I think that the Iran thing is basically running it all at the moment. That would be my view at the moment. Okay, there's that is the dominant trend on that 4-hour chart is to the downside. I would say that. Okay, that's what we look at. Look at those fractals have been getting lower. But yeah, we're at that kind of 86.20 area, so we need to see is it going to act as support. If it breaks, does it break? And if it breaks, can it continue to work its way down there? Okay, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I know we overran there a little bit, but I've been away for a bit. There's lots to talk about. So I hope you found that useful. I hope that's given you a little bit of help, a little bit of insight. Once again, it's going to be another eventful week, so make sure you're on top of your risk management. Make sure you're on top of the news flow. Make sure you're on top of the order flow. Have a great trading week, and I will speak to you soon. Take care, everybody. Trade well. Cheers.